management.
So, Congressman, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. You have Noam arguing FEMA should financially support states that are undergoing disasters, but leave the actual emergency response to those states. In your opinion, is that the most effective model?
Well, I think the best way I can sum it up is when Donald Trump was talking about Israel and Iran as he was boarding the helicopter. He said, they don't know what the F they're doing. And Kristi Noem has no idea what she's doing. Okay, FEMA is cutting the grant that gives states money to build their capacity, at the same time telling them they need to build more capacity. She's been pausing grants of $10 billion for previously approved disasters. They cut 20% of the workforce, and every decision has to come to her. Okay, David Richardson, who's the new FEMA administrator or acting administrator, has zero emergency management experience. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's not going to do anything without Kristi Noem's approval. So when we see reports that they didn't send swiftwater rescue crews for 72 hours, that's because Kristi Noem didn't approve it for 72 hours. Let me tell you, by the time those crews arrived, they were useless. Okay, after 72 hours. When I was the director in Florida, the way that would have worked is the regional administrator would have woken me up in the middle of the night when those alerts were going on. If not the regional administrator, the weather folks who work in the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, would have woken me up, or my deputy, in the middle of the night. We would have turned on the Emergency Operations Center. We would have gone to a level 1, and FEMA would have automatically moved those swiftwater rescue crews, Task Force 1 and Task Force 2, would have moved them. Without my permission, they would have done it, because that was their job. That did not happen here. Right. And so today I sent a letter to both the Homeland Security Committee and the Transportation Committee asking for a full investigation on the timeline of when decisions were made and why they've deviated from known protocols. And it's questionable whether these decisions may have caused additional death in Texas.
I think that is a very important point, Congressman. You know, some could argue that the inaction of the Homeland Security Secretary did, in fact, result in deaths. A lot is being said about FEMA as of late. You know, this has been particularly an agency that has been in the crosshairs of this administration. Is FEMA necessary from your perspective? And if so, why?
Well, it's not only necessary, it's mandatory. First of all, it's congressionally mandated. So the executive branch can't get rid of it without Congress. They can break it, which is what they've done. Look, the industry has known that FEMA has needed reform for some time. I've been running a bill for 3 years to get FEMA out of Homeland, because it's hard for an agency that requires speed to work in an agency that is a giant bureaucracy. So Homeland has been slowing FEMA down for years. So I actually have that bill with Byron Donalds. It's bipartisan. He's running for governor of Florida. I got Tom Tillis in the Senate, and Padilla, Senator Padilla, both North Carolina and California, who experienced major disasters, to get FEMA out of Homeland. There's additional reforms that we could do at FEMA with block grants and things of that nature. But look, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, they go bankrupt without FEMA. They get a hurricane this summer, they don't get FEMA money, they're bankrupt. South Carolina, North Carolina, bankrupt. Okay, you get into the states that deal with Tornado Alley, bankrupt. Okay, Tennessee, Kentucky, Kansas, these states go bankrupt without FEMA. So we need to move from the ridiculousness of getting rid of FEMA and figure out what reforms we can make to make FEMA better and faster. But that's not what Kristi Noem is doing. She's actually made it worse. She's made FEMA less responsive, so much for efficiency and DOGE. Okay, and so, you know, this is just my belief, I actually don't think the West Wing knows how bad FEMA is right now, and they are not even aware the damage that Kristi Noem has done to the agency, and they're not going to find out until real time. God forbid we get a real big storm this summer. I'm worried that FEMA is not prepared, and it's all because of what the secretary has done. And then what she's going to say is, oh, see, we told you FEMA wasn't ready. No, no, no. You took something that needed reform, and you broke it to the point that it barely can function.
Congressman, I think everyone can hear the urgency and the concern in your voice. I certainly appreciate the way you opened this conversation with that quote. I want to quote you in a tweet this morning, noting, as the former emergency management director of Florida, I'm calling for an immediate investigation at Homeland GOP, Homeland Dems, and Transportation Dems, Transport Dems at Transport GOP. If accurate, this is a major deviation from FEMA protocol, may have slowed down response and been a contributing factor. This was in response to the CNN reporting that Kristi Noem didn't authorize FEMA's response, deployment of its urban search and rescue teams until more than 72 hours after the flooding began. When Kristen Welker asked the president about Noem's policy of her slow response, Mr. Trump said, I don't know anything about it. We were right on time. She's done a great job. So, sir, I will give you an opportunity to expand on the point that you just made about the preparedness or the lack thereof of this administration and its control of FEMA as we get ready, because it surprises me, sir, that these red states that you just named are not concerned about what could come if they get, a big tornado, a big hurricane this season.
Yeah, Michael Brown was doing a great job right before he was fired. So, at the end of the day, she's going to find herself to be the next Michael Brown if she gets a big storm and the agency is not ready because of her actions. The reason why I'm so animated is, look, I was an emergency management director in Florida, a Democrat for a Republican governor. Okay, this is supposed to be nonpartisan. It's supposed to be bipartisan. Okay, we're supposed to take the politics out of all of this. And that's why I'm so alarmed. Based on the decisions that she has made, that I really think a lot of people don't know. If you talk to members of Congress, you talk to Republicans from Louisiana and Mississippi or in Georgia, okay, they want FEMA reform, but they don't want FEMA removal. They're well aware that FEMA is necessary. And so, yeah, I think this administration, when the president says, he doesn't know, that's right. I think they actually don't know how bad Kristi Noem has made FEMA. Do you know right now the regional administrator position in Florida is vacant? We don't have a regional administrator in Region 4. It's vacant. You got regional offices that are 20, 30% empty because they were forced to leave. Those are the people that call the state directors. Those are the people who know the county administrators. If you look at what happened in Texas, evacuations are done at the local level in coordination with the state. And so she has no idea what she's doing. The best thing that she can do now is sponsor my bill, get FEMA out of Homeland, get it away from her, okay, so that we can start reforming and rebuilding the agency. I mean, this is an agency that's literally responsible, right, for the contingency plans for government. God forbid we had a major disaster, a war, some sort of, unbelievable event. Okay, and she's breaking it to the point where it can't function.
So, Congressman, part of the reason you are so animated about this is because you represent a state that is likely to be impacted dramatically. You also represent a state where we are currently seeing the impact of this administration's deportation program and enforcement at all costs come home, specifically in the form of the ICE facility in the Everglades. There's now been reporting about the conditions in those facilities, people saying there is no water to bathe, saying they only give you food once a day, food that has worms in it. The detention center lights are always on 24/7, mosquitoes the size of elephants. Members of Congress were planning a visit to this facility, and you received notice from the state that it had its own planned tour at the same time. Does that seem suspicious to you? What do you think actually happened here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The reason I'm so animated on the last segment is I live a mile from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where I watched parents bury their children. And I've seen what happens when government fails. And in this instance, there's questions about whether FEMA lived up to its mission because of the secretary, and maybe some people would be alive if they had done better. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to the middle of the Everglades on Saturday. How convenient that they're going to have a tour at the same time that we were going to do our visit, which we're allowed to do. We are congressionally allowed to show up to any facility whenever we want and do a spot check. We've seen some of my colleagues try to do that in New Jersey and other places and get met with force. So obviously this is better than that. But who knows? Now they're sanitizing the tour. So look, yeah, I'm gonna go to the middle of the Everglades, a facility that shouldn't be there, and we're gonna tour it. We're gonna talk to the folks there, and we're gonna talk to see what the conditions are, and then we're gonna report back. But yeah, the reports are that the conditions are inhumane, and quite frankly, this facility should never have been built in the middle of the Everglades. It's ridiculous.
Congressman Jared Moskowitz of Florida, thank you so much, Congressman, for being with us.